All right, here I am halfway around the world. I think I have the second best job in the world to fly to Nashville to see Bon Jovi, but I think, John, you have the best job in the world. After seeing last night's show, man, it's what an honour to meet you, but what a show last night. The fans were
Thank
going
you.
crazy.
Thank you. Welcome to Nashville.
Yeah, this is
Nashville.
Music City.
It is. It's a great town. We have a lot of history here too. You know, we did the Lost Highway record here, recorded the new songs which were on the first greatest hits with Always and Someday I'll Be Saturday Night here. Written a lot of songs in this hotel.
Oh, yeah?
A lot of history in this hotel. My goodness, I can't tell you. I honestly can't tell you. Maybe 20 songs I've written in this hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I flew in last night, arrived at 6, dropped my bag, saw the show, and then afterwards we went out for a beer with a few other people and just meeting strangers. And everybody in this, I don't know, they seem to love music. Like music's everywhere.
That's
Every
the
bar
magic
you
of
go
this town.
into, it's awesome.
I've been coming here for, well over 20 years now, frequently.
Okay.
And I remember an old story. There was a place, there was a hotel bar, and you'd sit outside in the courtyard, and it was the late 80s, maybe 1990. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who had just moved here for that reason. He's a songwriter. And I says, you know what? I've got this vision. Rock band comes to Nashville, gets all the great stories, writes about them, incorporates them into their songs. You go back, you cross the markets over. This is going to be genius. I'm brilliant. And I sat back in my seat all full of myself, and I picked up the menu to order dinner, and I flipped it over, and there was a list from A to Z of every guy who had been there. I mean, you know, from Hank Williams to Madonna had been in that restaurant. I was like, well, at least I'm not the last.
Exactly. In fact, I was just walking down this morning just to grab a bite to eat, and there was a guy just playing music out of a cup. So I threw some bucks. He was a busker, and I thought, how cool is this? Like, this is 8 o'clock in the morning, and whatever instrument he could find was a cup, and he was blowing it like a bugle. So
That's
what a
hysterical.
fascinating city to be in.
No, it is. If you go out tonight, you will see, and I'm not exaggerating, 25 different original song establishments going on in a variety of ways. One guy with just an acoustic, one would be a small band, one would be in a rock band. There would be what they call a round, where you'll have 4 songwriters in a circle. You could just get music overflow.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Do you get a chance to see much music yourself? I mean, you know,
Here, I come down for days at a time. You know, a week at a time. I'll just come with my buddies who live here and just camp out.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then this becomes the hub. But I'm not kidding when I tell you, you know, you go down the bar and there would be Eric Clapton or Elvis Costello, Alan Toussaint. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, just anyone and their mother has been in and around this joint that comes and hangs.
Which brings us to the your 12th studio album, which is released in Australia tomorrow, and it's in the US next week. And you know, lots of recording history here in Nashville, and 30 years on, album number 12. It must be. Is it exciting as it was the first time around, or is it, you know, any different?
Yes and no. I mean, everything's different in the same way. It's all the same. But I think because I've had this record to myself for the last 6 months, which I've just never done before, it seems like, oh, it's out. And then they said, no, it's not out. You're the only one that knows it. oh. You know, so it's a little weird. But it was a very conscious attempt to finish it and get it done last August, as it were, so that the company could have their time to set it up and it wouldn't get in the way of the holidays and anyone's life, and.
Yeah.
But then you also didn't want to go out and tour too late after the release of the record, because it gets to a point where you say that the record, its timing is all off. So here we are on the road without a record, but it's going very well. And on the other hand, I've heard and you haven't. So this is whole, like, I'm as jet lagged as you are.
Yeah, I actually heard a sneak peek of the album, and I would call it an inspiring album from the songs I heard. It's quite uplifting. So
Thank you.
Yeah, you'll be you must be very proud of it. And you've pushed the boundaries with this album too, because you've brought in something with the iPhone app called augmented reality, which is mind-blowing. I've got the app on my iPhone, and you put it in front of the album, and you can probably explain what happens.
Yeah.
Things come out.
Yeah, I mean, the story is a little long, but it's worth telling, I think, because when you and I were kids, vinyl was very important, and the artwork would leave your imagination to wander free.
Oh, yeah.
And it was an era before there was such thing as video, and there was no internet, and there was no YouTube, and there was none of that. You had to truly close your eyes and think about this place called Australia, where AC/DC, you know, and those those album covers just gave you a hint, but what did they sound, what did they do? And so here you are, right, and with that imagination. Well, now in our era, you don't not only have that album art, you don't even have the CD art. You're left with a thumbnail on a computer screen somewhere. Sure. So here I am making my umpteenth album. I don't even know what this is anymore. And the conversation comes as to what should the album art be. And I'm thinking, who really cares? Because it's 1 inch by 1 inch. You know, I said, put the logo on and call it an album cover. So long story short, then we incorporate this imagery from the album and hire a street artist, because a very famous photographer who is known as the Invisible Man, a Chinese artist by the name of Lu Bolin, agreed to do a commission of us where he physically painted us into the background of this imagery from our lyrics, which then in turn became a photograph. And if that in and of itself was the end of the story, we would say, yes, the famous Chinese artist Lu Bolin painted us with paint and put us in the background, blah, blah, blah. But the story, you say you're not satisfied, you say you want more. My 8-year-old son, Romeo, came home from school one day with his Halloween costume catalog. And he said, look at this, Dad. And he shows me that it has an app on the front cover, that if you do it, the little boy on the cover with the Batman suit, his eyes would flicker and these toy bats would fly out of his head. And I said, Romeo, this is brilliant. I need to borrow the cover of this catalog. Took that then to the record company and said, look at this. And they said, got it. So we created this augmented reality where in turn we walk out of the paint physically, and then you can click on it to get it to our videos, to the lyrics, to the tour dates, to last night's set list. It keeps you engaged not only for that time that you bought the record, but throughout the entire world tour.
Yeah. Was it water-based paint? Quite easy.
Yeah, it was a little scary going on, because you thought, you want to hear something, you know, you're like, how am I going to pee?
Yes, of course. It's a long time in front of the camera.
You know, to like, oh, Lord. But it came off a little better than it went on, which we were fortunate. But that is, it's unbelievable. If you can look inside that album, look at it, and you have to look into it to see that we are on the cover, but painted into the picture.
It's like one of those seeing eye wall charts you get, and you cross your eyes and you see something. But this thing actually works.
Yeah.
You don't have to stand there for hours looking at a wall, which is great. Do you have any favourite songs off the album? I heard you play Amen last night. It was brilliant, and that sort of gave me chills.
Oh, that's
when
good.
You played that song.
Thank you.
Just awesome.
Thank you. You know, all the ones that we played, That's What the Water Made Me, What About Now, Because We Can. I was playing others, but even the band were looking at me and said, 7 new songs to an album that's not out yet might be a bit much.
Oh, okay. No, what the fans love it. They embrace it. And, you know, sometimes they don't even know the words, but they're there. They've got the arms in the air.
We did the best we can with the new stuff. But, you know, you're so close to the record, it's hard to be judgmental. Yeah, It'll take me a year to walk away from it to think, next tour, how many of these new songs will I want to play? That's really the key.
Do you still get the buzz? Do you still get the itch to write new material?
Oh, sure. That's why we continue to make records. I mean, that's the process for me, is you write, and then recording is second to see if what is on the note paper comes to life. And then if it comes to that kind of life, you want to go share it.
Yeah. Is it often the lyrics that you write first, or is the music come first?
They're one and the same, really. And sometimes it's the environment that creates the mood of the song. But, you know, if you're picking up the guitar, it's really with a thought in mind.
Yeah. And you still do that all the time. What about to the kids? Do you just play to the kids sometimes at home? You know?
I don't think that my kids have even heard this album, and I've had it done for 6 months.
Okay.
I honestly, goodness.
Batman
exactly. They play with video games. They hear one song and they go, "Great, Dad, sounds great." Yeah.
I'm John Bon Jovi.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Brats.
We're going to talk about the show last night, which was just spectacular. And this show, and I'm sure we might be able to mention it now, but there is a possibility Australia is on the map for a tour at some stage.
It better be. I'm looking forward to it in December.
December?
I'm imagining that I'm coming. And if I'm not there, blame my manager. It's nothing to do with me.
All right, well, we'll pencil in December, and the fans are in for a real treat, because you just don't come on for an hour and a half. You might double that. It's a big show. Yeah. What a show.
Yeah, we don't need any tricks or gimmicks, gadgets, or support accesses. 3 hours of songs, you know, and as I said last night, we could have played the night through and not played anything twice, you know, so that's what we do.
People were losing their tiny little minds. 30 years in the business, is there a moment in time where you can sit back and go, that was a great time of my life?
There was a lot of great times in our lives, you know, I mean, it's too many to name. honestly, I remember my first time in Australia.
Oh,
It
yeah?
was, of course, great, funny, cute story about it is there was that kind of, I used to say Beatlemaniac moment, but that doesn't even, it's not relatable as much
Yeah.
to young kids. We were Justin Bieber once. So we were down there and we couldn't leave the hotels. We couldn't go to, and they were screaming and yelling hours on end all night long. And we finally went to a costume shop and we bought phony wigs and mustaches and we got into like laundry vans to get out of the hotel, all the kinds of things that these One Directions and all this stuff do. So had a great time. We had a great laugh, and our first time in Australia was all really great. And we left there and we went to Japan. And from Japan, we were in the same hotel as Michael Jackson. And his manager at the time took us up to meet him, and Richie and I were sitting there yapping, and we told him the story of coming out of Australia and how wonderful and wild it was to get these wigs and mustaches, and even our road crew didn't recognize us. We pulled this trick off, and he just pretended to be so in awe of this brilliant idea as though he'd never heard anything of it.
Right.
2-3 days later, we're reading one of those gossipy rags in the hotel, and there's a picture of Jackson from London, and he'd been doing this forever, and unbeknownst to us. So I'm talking like 1987. But that was one of my early memories of Australia. We've had a lot of them
You've
since.
got a massive support base in Australia, and I know it's around the world, but people and multi-generational too, from kids to mums and dads to parents. I mean, spanning all generations must be awfully satisfying.
It's very rewarding.
Yeah.
I mean, look, our last tour there was our biggest one ever, and that was in 2010, right? Or 11, 10, end of 10. It was great. It was huge, and I look forward to coming back. I wonder if we can move Australia closer.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, I found that out as I flew in a couple of days ago.
It's far.
It's a long trip, but
it's worth taking.
It's a rock and roll lifestyle. Just get the private jet.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine. You'll be good. You've also been known to support, and I know you did this with your last tour because Triple M were behind it as well. Up and coming bands to play support for you guys. Is that a thing that you try and do a bit, like bands that are?
We have done that over the years. I'd almost forgotten about it until just the other day when my manager brought it up. He said, you did that a bunch of times. I said, oh, yeah. Because I'm sort of now in that phase of, I like that I go on when we want and we just play for 3 hours and there isn't any support.
Yeah.
But again, I could, I like the idea. It really was great. It's rewarding for us to give them that chance. And it's a great opportunity for them if they're smart enough to capitalize on it after the fact. So I'm certainly not opposed to that.
What about live music? I mean, what does live music mean to you? We spoke about being here in Nashville, and it's such a big scene, even in Melbourne as well, is the live music scene, and it seems to be as strong as ever.
I think it's so important to understand how to perform, to be a performer. And writing a song in your bedroom, even if you become a master with the garage band and you don't even have to get into a studio with a band, how do you know the reaction in front of that audience? And then how do you know as a guy in that band how to entertain an audience? You got to go and learn it from the ground up, from the bingo parlor to the pub, to the high school dance, to an opening act slot, to a headliner. That's the only way that you can really do it for a long period of time.
Was there a moment in your life, John, where you're in front of the mirror, you had a hairbrush in your hand?
Hell yes.
Yeah, right.
Of course I was. You went into the loudest room, with a ceiling or the shower so you could scream and get some reverb in it, and hopefully when no one else was home so you wouldn't completely embarrass yourself. But every kid at one time or another picks up the broomstick.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be a rock star.
Or an astronaut or a baseball player.
Do you still pinch yourself? I think here I'm still doing what I love. I mean, you're blessed to be doing what you love.
That's anyone who does something that they love is blessed.
Yeah.
And getting to do what it is that I chose to do as a young kid, is really pleasing. But that's where it ends. I mean, this is what I wanted to do. It had nothing to do with celebrity or fame. It had to do with making music. So I've just been blessed doing what I love to do.
Just before we go, we've heard a bit about in Australia is the John Bon Jovi Foundation, which is it's a charity that you've set up. And is it like a food van that you've set up in?
No. It's a lot more than that.
Okay.
It's called the Soul Foundation. Okay. But initially we've built houses, and we built 350 of them thus far. But then about 3 years ago, we crossed over into something else that we called a for-purpose restaurant. And quite simply, it's that we have a beautiful restaurant with linens and china and flowers and a 3-course meal, and there's no prices on the menu. And if you or I were to go there and you want to effect a change, truly know that you did something, leave $20 on the table. If you leave $20, you know you've more than covered your meal and you paid for the guy next to you who can't afford to pay anything. But the guy next to you who you'd never know was having a hard time making ends meet comes in the same way, and he volunteers his time.
Oh, okay.
So you're either bussing a table, washing a dish, working on our garden. You might find that you go in there, you want to donate that 20, and you want to also take part, just because it's contagious.
And
you
creating
know?
skills at the same time for themselves.
That too. We have also done job training and found people jobs, and we've brought the community together in such a way that so-and-so needs legal help. There's a lawyer across the table. There's a doctor. You know, you're getting medical attention. You find out that that guy who's having a hard time making ends meet used to be in the stock market. You know, these aren't like, you know, homeless like you think the caricature of it. This is just in the economy in which we live, that people were having that disposable income taken from them. So it was a little harder to do that. But take, for instance, I can have a 12-year-old kid come in and work in the garden for an hour. You give him a gift certificate, he brings his whole family back, and they sit down in this beautiful restaurant and get fed for, you know, for nothing. Because the little 12-year-old kid came in and worked for an hour. And it's that kind of thing that we've built this model that's been very successful. Very successful.
Well, it's inspiring, a lot like a new album, and an absolute pleasture to meet you, John.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. We look forward to you coming to Australia.
Me too.
We can't wait. So December, summertime, beaches,
Nothing
sand,
but trouble.
and
I'm
trouble.
on my way.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.